Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Watching Mental Health. And I am so excited because today we have an expert in something that I think that we all need to talk a little bit more about. And so I want to talk about Lane Kennedy, who brings over 10,000 hours of experience to nervous system regulation and stress management work. She is a certified functional nutritionist and an applied neuroscience academy graduate. Lane combines cutting edge science with compassionate personalized coaching, and that's what I really love is bringing the science and the coaching together to create something that works. And Lane's personal journey really began with an autoimmune diagnosis that transformed her understanding of health. And this experience fueled her passion to help others discover their own unique biology and how that impacts their stress response. And through DNA wellness analysis and nervous system training, she teaches clients exactly how to manage their individual stress. No generic advice, just personalized science, which I, again, love. And today on Watching Mental Health, we're going to be discussing nervous system regulation and stress management. And that's something that, like I said, we all, I think, need a little bit more help in these days. So, with that, welcome to the show, Lane Kennedy.
Thanks for having me, Katie. It's good to be with you.
Thank you so much for joining me. And,
Mhm.
this is such a timely topic. I think that, especially in our American culture, a lot of us are running on stress and on burnout and on constant nervous system dysregulation, I'll say. But before we get into all of that, I just want to start off by asking you and asking all of my, guests, what brought you to this field? Why did you choose to, go into, this line of work? And maybe it has something to do with, the diagnosis that you received.
Yes, yes, and yes, and yes. My story starts about 30 years ago, really. I found recovery from alcoholism. And when I got sober and found recovery, I thought that I was going to be better. I thought alcohol was my main issue. But reality was that alcohol had already started to deteriorate my body. And I, my immune system broke down.
Wow.
I was 2 years into my recovery, and I found myself in bed and having people having to take care of me. And so it was kind of, a really like eye-opening experience and discovering uh, the power of food, of
Mm.
nutrition. I was introduced to a naturopath, and he completely transformed my body within 5 months. So that kind of started me down this path of total body wellness.
Mm.
And, you know, here I am 30 years later, still very intrigued with the body mind connection. I had a son, he'll be 17, uh, you know, and when I had my son, again, kind of the bottom fell out on me, and I just wasn't ready for that. Didn't understand it because I was doing all the right things. And I have a kind of a little bit of a pattern of doing all the right things according to someone else,
Yeah.
according to the doctor, according to the influencer, and right, according to all these. And so then when my son was born, I also got into DNA and genetics, and I invested in a company here in San Francisco. I live in the Bay Area, so that at that time there were a lot of new, innovative companies coming online with
Sure.
technology and DNA, and I got
Mm.
involved with one, and I started voraciously just learning about DNA and wanting to understand it. And through that, I started seeing that, oh, there's a connection between my nervous system and my genetics and how I actually operate and how I function and how I move about in the world. And so that was like a little ding, ding, ding.
Yeah.
And then, shortly thereafter that, my son was about, 6 years old, and the bottom fell out of me again. And I had this moment of like inner rage, and I didn't understand. Like, I didn't know what anger was. Like, I had never identified it because I'm just happy go lucky. And but I had this moment where I like saw myself yelling at somebody, and I was like, this isn't right. And so
Yeah.
that kind of kicked me down this really deep path into this contemplative, mindfulness, understanding the practice, or again, this body mind connection on how to control is not the right word, but how do I mindfully watch what I'm doing and my thinking? And so
Yeah.
I've been able to put together, this nutrition background, this DNA background, and the mindfulness to support my students and my clients. Did I answer the question?
Yeah, that's amazing. You're very unique. I like to call myself a unicorn. I would consider you a unicorn in that way. It's a lot of, I think multiple things coming together. So you mentioned that mind body connection. You mentioned nutrition
Mhm.
and, kind of what we're putting into our bodies, right? And then you also mentioned DNA. And so
Mhm.
kind of bringing all those together with the focus of nervous system regulation, I think is really really cool, and it feels like you have really discovered a lot through your own personal journey.
I've discovered a lot through my journey. And also, I've been doing this work for so long, I can see patterns with people now. And
Mm,
it's so clear to me.
yeah.
And I think about maybe like in the last 18 months, I've seen a huge impact in people's stress
Hmm.
and this relationship to their mental health and what's happening. And I can only connect it to AI.
Oh, okay. It is really interesting with the advance of AI,
Mhm.
and I'm sure you've seen a lot in the Bay Area as well, because they always seem to be on the cutting edge of things, even with DNA. And so, let's talk a little bit more about DNA. So, what kind of have you discovered, and why is it important to be considering DNA when we're thinking about stress regulation and nervous system regulation?
Yeah. So the first thing that I'll share is that, our DNA is specific to us,
Mm,
right? It's our own blueprint. It talks to us constantly. And that's also talking to your immune system, which is also talking to your nervous system. It's
mm,
unique to you, right? So when somebody says, "Oh, go ahead and meditate," and somebody has this like visceral reaction,
yeah.
I don't want to meditate. I can't meditate. I have too much going on right now. I
Yeah.
can't think. I have too many racing thoughts. I can look at somebody's blueprint and be like, yeah, meditation's not going to work for you.
Oh,
Why don't
okay.
you go do some walking? Why don't you get on the bike and like just do an elliptical training session? Why don't you like there's other ways to help people find that peace and calm because their
Mhm.
genetics are driving them. And so many people just think, oh, meditation is going to be the answer. It's
Yeah,
not. And
yeah.
I've been teaching meditation for almost 10 years now. And every so often I'll get a student in my class where they're like, this is a bad idea. And I'm like, maybe it is a bad idea for you. So keep your eyes open. It's okay.
Yeah.
Like there's so many things to really consider when you're looking at creating a practice for somebody.
Mhm.
And that DNA element, there are very specific genes that I can see that are going to make people a little more driven, so to speak, or a little more high strung, or a little more depressed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, that's so interesting. So that kind of touches on what you were saying about creating like a personalized science approach for
Yeah.
each client, because
Yeah.
each client has a different their DNA looks a little different,
Yeah.
right? So you have to look at that as well as other factors. And it seems like
Mhm.
other factors include like food and nutrition.
Yes. Yes. 100%. I everybody thinks, "Oh, I'm eating great. I'm eating
Right.
great."
Oh, I'm healthy. Yeah.
It's okay. I mean, I'm not here judging because, I have a bag of Fritos on my kitchen counter here. Like, I get it. But it's like the nutrients that we are consuming these days is just not enough for our bodies. The
Yeah.
world has changed so much, and the human body is incredibly resilient,
Mm.
right? And you know, when I make somebody a lifestyle plan, I'm like, okay, you're going to have to get in, 35 grams of fiber. They're like,
What is that? How do I
what
do
does
that?
that even mean? What
Yeah.
I'm going to be eating salad all day long. I'm like, no, you just have to know how to do it. Like, what are
Yeah.
the most nutrient dense foods that you can get into your body that are going to support your nervous system?
Right. So that makes sense that then you took on becoming a nutritionist because you really need to know these things in order
Yeah.
to provide that for your clients.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's so amazing. Do you think that it would be different in another culture or another country? And I have two things I'm thinking about on this.
Yeah.
First, there's the American diet, right, which I think is really nutritionally deficient, right? So it's
Mhm.
not helping us.
Mhm.
And then also, I think there's that American culture of work through your stress, and if you're not working, you're lazy, and it feels like that puts our nervous systems even more kind of on fritz. And so,
Mhm.
have you noticed that, or what do you think about that?
I think nutrients is the backbone,
Hmm.
right? Because nutrients has all the minerals, right? Most people are mineral deficient. If you're mineral deficient, then you're going to be more anxious or more depressed.
Yeah,
And your doctor's not telling you this. Your
thinking
doctor's
that.
not, they're not talking about what you put into your body,
Mm.
right? They're just thinking, oh, you're depressed. I'm going to give you a medicine to support you instead of investigating the lifestyle of somebody,
Yeah.
right? And I think, and I'm not poo-pooing doctors. I mean, we are in a world right now where there's just too many people and there's not enough time. You know,
Sure.
every doctor can't spend an hour with a person, but
Right.
really, therapeutically, we need time to understand the person that's sitting right in front of, like I take time with my clients to understand what's driving them, what's got
Mhm.
them kind of feeling lull or kind of broken or burnt out. um, and again, not everything's going to be the same, right? If you had a
Mhm.
sister or your mother came to me,
Be
it's going to be
different.
totally different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is so interesting, and I just think that, when you really think about, yeah, like how doctors approach it and then how therapists approach it, and I think that we as a society are beginning to finally think about our mental health a little bit
Mhm.
more,
Yeah.
but we're still not really fully understanding it. It's so customized because
Mhm.
everybody's mental health is different, everybody's
Mhm.
DNA is different, and I think a lot of people struggle with that because they want the one size fits all approach, and
Yeah.
that's just not how it works. And
Mhm.
it seems like, you've really seen that yourself in your own experience as well as with your clients.
Mhm. I see it all. I see it everywhere now. It's like
Yeah.
something I can't unsee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. I really like that you took that approach. And, you live in the Bay Area with a lot of, I think, stress, right? A lot of people who are worried about money or
Yeah.
career, all of that. It's a very expensive area. And then America in general, like I said, we have this kind of intense culture. And so, if somebody is maybe struggling, I think a lot of us may be experiencing stress. What would be kind of your basic recommendation to somebody who, you see who's out there who's struggling a little bit with their stress management?
The first thing that I share is like get your phone out of your room.
Mm,
Like you don't
yeah.
need it as an alarm clock. You just don't.
Mm-hmm.
You just don't. So that's the first place where I start. I get somebody really focusing on their sleep circadian rhythm cycles. So like
Okay.
really understanding what their sleep is like. It's one of the first things that I bring up in my classes when I'm teaching. Like, where are you with sleep? Like,
Yeah.
just on a scale from 1 to 10, you wake up in the morning, you're great. That's a
Yeah.
10. Or are you at a 1 and you're just like, you know,
Yeah.
most of my clients and my students are like, 2, 3.
Wow.
So, and this is, again, it's universal because this is not only happening in my student population. This is happening in, conversations I'm having with my colleagues.
Mhm.
This is conversations that I'm having with friends.
Mhm.
It's everybody's sleep is so, it's hammered right now uh, because people are on their devices
Yeah.
so much, right? And genetically, right, that's just driving. There's a couple of genes, the DRDs, that are just being driven by that scroll, by this eye contact. It's just taking things away from you, and you don't even know it because you're in it,
Mhm.
right? So
So
that's the first place I start. Is like take the phone out of your room and let's start working on your sleep. Find your sleep window. is
Okay.
really critical. And if you don't know what your sleep window is, the sleep window is when you first start to conk out,
Mhm.
and then you back off about 45 minutes to an hour,
Mhm. Okay.
right? So, if you feel that nod at 9 o'clock, your sleep window is 8 to 9:30.
Okay.
That means you need to be
Okay.
in bed by 9 o'clock,
That's good advice.
because that first sleep cycle is so yummy and juicy for your whole body. So
Mhm.
you really want to make sure that you're landing in that zone. And if you nod out at the TV, you've missed
You've
your
missed
first.
it.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
That's so true. That is so interesting. So for anyone out there who's maybe wondering, what is nervous system dysregulation? What is nervous system regulation? What is that? So can you explain that to us a little bit?
Yeah. So, oh, it comes in so many forms. And
Yeah.
now I just see it with, tension in your shoulders, sleep disruption,
Mm,
hormonal changes for men and for women. Uh,
okay.
that's happening a lot. It can come in achy joints. It could come in a tight jaw, tired eyes, um, the inability to eat,
Mm,
uh, upset stomach.
okay. Yeah. A lot of people have that upset stomach. That's a
Yeah,
huge problem in
yeah,
our culture is our
yeah,
tummies.
yeah. It's huge. It's
And
huge.
nobody thinks about that
No.
connection between your stomach and your brain. And there is a big connection there.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, it's not easy to get the stomach back online either.
Oh,
It
sure.
takes it takes real commitment. And that's when I know somebody's completely almost to that burnout place. Like, I think there's stages of burnout.
Yeah.
And when somebody's not able to eat, yeah,
Yeah, they're gone.
they're yeah.
Yeah. So that's good. That's good advice for anyone who's listening. If you are really struggling to
Mhm.
eat, look in, are you
Yeah.
experiencing symptoms of burnout? And if that's the case, what should people be doing to try to get out of that? I know you mentioned sleep would be I know working with you might be a good option for some folks. So talk to me a little bit about what people can do to get out of this state.
Yeah. I think this is something that you can't do alone. It
Yeah.
really
Okay.
isn't. And if you're not working with me, then you're working with somebody else who knows nervous system dysregulation. And there's plenty of people out there. Everybody all of a sudden is now a meditation teacher, a mindfulness teacher, or just, nervous system person. It's like, doesn't matter.
Hmm.
All of a sudden people are just, I'm an
It's the
expert.
trend. It's the
Yeah,
new
it's a
trend
trend.
to
It's a
you.
trend.
Yeah.
I'm like, you have no idea. Like, what are you talking about? Anyways, so the first thing to do is like find somebody that you resonate with. Really, that is critical right there, because you need to have a relationship, because they need to understand what's happening with you.
Mhm.
And the only way that you can kind of unfold to somebody is if you have that kind of connection, that
That
rapport.
trust. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the first thing that I would say. The second thing that I would say is make sure that you're hydrated.
Okay. And we're
Not
many of us are not.
and not just with water. Like, that's not it.
Oh.
It's really, because I would say that most people who are in burnout have a mineral, again, going back to the minerals, a mineral imbalance. Electrolytes are deficient.
Mm.
There's too much drive with the cortisol. The HPA axis is completely shut off. They're depleted. So making sure that you are taking in minerals in your water. Uh, I love the company Beam Minerals. It's fantastic company. I support what they do. I support their product. I've had miracles happen with clients with this product. So that's
Wow.
something that you could just take the Beam Minerals and drink your water. And tea is another
Mm.
thing. Like, not just drinking water all day, because again, you want to keep your electrolytes and your minerals in line. Uh, so after that, again, we're trying to get nutrients into the body. Small micro meals, which
Mm.
may seem counterintuitive, but you've got to get something into the body.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
So
to be honest, that's how I work. I have found that my body works best with small meals
yeah,
versus with huge meals that I've waited hours in between.
forget it. Forget it. Yeah, a handful, like pumpkin seeds are one of my favorite
Mm,
go-tos when somebody's burnt out. Like just start
okay.
with like a third of a cup of pumpkin seeds.
Okay. I'm gonna
Yeah,
actually write that down. Okay.
yeah. It's
I'm gonna try that.
take a couple of them throughout the day, and that's going to give you some quick energy. The mineral, it's a high, dense, nutrient dense mineral. It's yummy. Do that.
Mhm. Oh, that's beautiful. Well,
Mhm.
so touching back on, kind of what you just said, about how everybody wants to be a meditation teacher or is trying to be a yoga or mindfulness teacher. But
Mhm.
then really at the top of the hour, you said that, hey, not everybody responds to that.
Yeah.
And so I just think that that is really important to point out is like we put all this pressure on ourselves to, do meditation and to practice self-care in these very traditional ways, these very mainstream ways, but that doesn't necessarily work for everybody. And so your approach really starts with looking at their DNA. And so how do you do that? Do they do do they take a test? Is there
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. There's a test that we use, or that another company that I work with, and in that company, I'm looking at like 160 different genes, single nucleotide polymorphisms that are dedicated to the 36 pathways of the body. So I look
Okay.
at, I'm not looking at one single gene, I'm looking at many, and I'm looking at them through the whole body,
Yeah.
right? So it's multifaceted because we are multidimensional, right? Like I'm not just looking at one thing in a vacuum. I have to look at the whole body, the whole system to
Mhm.
create a lifestyle plan.
And that's so interesting. I think it's really cool because it's a whole body approach, right? And
Mhm,
so a lot of
mhm,
us are out there and maybe we do need some mental health help, for traumas that we've experienced. But a lot of us are out there just in a constant state of burnout, not really sure what to do or how to get past feeling tired all the time, or whatever it is, or agitated, right on edge. You mentioned that earlier that like you were acting angry in a way that wasn't authentic to you, and I think a lot of people are feeling that so this idea of this kind of whole body approach where it's not just nutrition, but it's also DNA, it's also mindfulness in whatever way that works best for you, I think is really powerful.
yeah. And this idea around mindfulness,
Mhm.
people haven't, like, they think they know what that is.
Okay. Yeah.
And it's not meditation.
Right.
Mindfulness is, it's a way of living, it's a way of life, it's a way of moving through the world. And again, it goes back to educating yourself. Really understanding, like, what is the practice that you want to do? Where do you want to go with your mental health? Because there's many, many, many paths to supporting yourself.
Mhm.
And mindfulness may not be your thing, right? Like maybe that's not where you're going to go. Maybe it's internal family systems, like, right? Like maybe that's the work that you need to do. Or maybe it's EMDR, that's the work that you need to do, right? There's many paths.
Hmm.
Reiki, you could start having Reiki sessions to start moving that needle. So it's understanding, again, working with a practitioner who can hear you, who has the time to hear you, and then uncovering what's the path that's going to be most supportive for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And you really can't do it alone. Um, at the top of the hour in in your bio, I mentioned that you were diagnosed with an autoimmune disorder. So or diagnosis. Do you still have that diagnosis?
So it's in my file,
Hmm.
you know. And a year ago, I was diagnosed again with dysautonomia. I collapsed
Okay.
completely
Okay.
from overextension, burnout. So I have a real soft spot for, people who are facing burnout, people who have POTS, uh, people who are completely have lost their equilibrium. Tinnitus is another kind of form that
Yeah.
shows up with dysautonomia. Crohn's, irritable bowel system, like all of this dysautonomia is this blanket of nervous system dysregulation. And when the autonomic nervous system fails
Hmm.
you, right? You're flatlined because the
Yeah.
autonomic nervous system runs your heart, right? It runs how you blink your eyes, it runs your digestion. And
Yeah.
so, do I have an immune condition, right? That's the question that you're asking me. I don't think I have an immune condition anymore because what I've discovered through this last year of really doing some deep healing work is that going back to the mind body connection, the brain is so powerful, right? This is the mental health part of it. It's like, this is the part that I have had to really kind of go into. This is like the trauma work, right? The
Hmm.
polyvagal theory had like all of this work over the last year to kind of unwind myself to say, I don't have an immune system issue anymore. I don't have a nervous system issue anymore. What I have is a brain that's neural circuitry that's super powerful, right? So I have unwound those stories now and I've
Wow.
put them to sleep, which has been an incredibly, this has been one of the like wildest years in my life, but it's also been the most rewarding because I take this work into other people's lives in a
Hmm.
whole new way, which is, I don't even, it's life changing.
It is life changing when you have that, yeah, that epiphany,
Yeah.
in so many ways. And you know what? I think it really just drives the point that your brain matters. Like
Yeah.
we can look at our DNA, we can
Mhm.
fix our nutrition, but
Mhm.
if we're not taking active steps to also help our mind,
Yeah.
then there's only so much our body can help make up. And
Yeah.
you've kind of pointed it out is, you hit rock bottom, you got up, you made some adjustments, you hit rock bottom again, you got up, you made some adjustments. And I think we all experience that. And then we feel this like shame because
Mhm.
we didn't figure it out the first time. But that's just not how it is to be human.
No, no. And the shame is, this really, this emotion that really can tear you apart,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
It really just locks in. And so, again, it just goes back to that idea of finding somebody who you can unwind with
Hmm.
and feel safe with,
Yeah.
to let go of that.
Yeah. It's that compassionate science, it's that personalized
Yes,
science.
yes,
It's so, so needed in mental health treatment and in burnout,
yes.
to be looking at both. You mentioned that you have students. So do you teach these practices?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I
That's
do.
amazing. So tell me
Yeah.
more about if somebody wants to get involved in, learning about these practices and, learning more about DNA and or nutrition and how that works with, with system regulation. How could they get involved?
Sure. So I teach online and I teach in person here in San
Okay.
Francisco. I do both, uh, and I try to be as accessible as possible. I'm actually going to be starting to work in some hospitals, which is going to be really amazing. Uh, I work in companies. I work in the city of San Francisco in all the organizations, so all the government organizations here, the
Mm,
first responders. So, all walks of life, everything can be found over at lanekennedy.com. My
beautiful.
classes, the DNA work. I also have a Substack where, that's again, I try to educate through my Substack and through LinkedIn, just
Mhm.
this is what's happening with the nervous system. So lanekennedy.com is where you can find everything though.
Beautiful. And you could find if somebody wanted to work with you too, they could also find information
Oh
there.
yeah, yeah, of course. There's a button on there that says start here.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Wonderful. I have just a couple more questions. At the top of the hour, you mentioned, AI.
Mm,
And maybe some of these negative effects are starting to show in some ways. And so I want to talk a little bit about that and about, kind of the future. AI isn't going anywhere, right? And so it's up to us as people, as a culture to
yeah,
figure out how to manage that
yeah.
ethically, which is a whole separate conversation, but then
Mm,
also within ourselves. And I think a lot of people feel that tension and that stress. Talk to me a little bit more about your opinions on that.
yeah. AI, I have a love-hate relationship with it, honestly.
Right.
I really do. Like, it's almost like a false, yeah, I have to work on it personally just to be like, don't, it's not going to eat my time because it becomes like a time warp. Like, I
Right.
think it's going to save me time, but then I'm engaging with it even more.
Then you're going down some rabbit
Yeah,
hole
I'm
that you
like,
wouldn't have gone
I didn't
down.
need to
Yeah.
go down that rabbit hole. I don't really,
Right.
it doesn't really matter. Uh, but I think people are starting to feel the effects, and we're only again like 18 months into it.
Right.
And people are starting to want more in person. People want to get offline. People want
Mhm.
to connect, have deeper relationships, and you can't do that with AI.
Mm-mm.
Right? You can't have a therapeutic kind conversation with AI. You just can't.
Right. As much as people try,
Yeah, as much
and
as
that
people try.
and that
As
doesn't
much
always lead to good results when they
No.
do. Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard
It
some
can be
really
scary.
scary stories about,
Yeah.
what AI has done with
Mhm.
those personal relationship conversations.
Yeah.
So I use it with discernment, right? Like, use it with caution.
Use it as
Uh,
a tool, but
Use
not
it
as
as
your
a
life.
tool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, if you're traveling, okay, let's use it for travel like that. But
Mhm. Would you say that we experience this similar kind of tension when phones first came about that had the internet on them? Like, having like this at our fingertips,
yeah,
even without AI, I think that
yeah.
in itself has led to a lot of extra. There's so much information, like that stress. That's nervous system dysregulation for me, for sure.
1,000%. 1,000%. Yes, yes, and yes. So I think when we had the phone, that the
Was a
little
thing.
scale, right? The scale went up, right? The line on
Mhm.
the mark. Facebook, right? Instagram, like each of these kind of social platforms, we've seen this kind of tick
Yeah.
in dysregulation. Uh, I think AI has made it worse, though.
Mm.
I do. I feel like it's just kind of like this. Like, it was going, 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 and now it's like, yeah,
Yeah, we're gonna see that looking back.
yeah, for sure.
That is really, that's interesting, and it's scary in some ways. It means that us as, humans, we need to be even more conscious of
Yeah.
our brain body connection, how conditions affect us. And so I want to
Mhm.
leave with just one last question. And I always like to ask my professionals this, and it's if somebody were to come to you, or just somebody in general is out there experiencing a chronic health condition or a chronic mental health challenge, right? Maybe chronic anxiety, right? Or even
Sure.
an autoimmune disorder.
Yeah.
Um, do you think that it's possible for them to get over that, get
Yes.
over it? Or is it
Yes.
something that they need to continuously kind of work on?
No, I think they can get over it. I
Wow.
do. I do because I've experienced it and I've seen it in my clients.
Yeah, because you just said that in
Yeah.
this last year, your condition has
Yeah.
evolved. It's no
Yeah.
longer what it was. Now
Yeah.
you are experiencing new things.
Yes. I think, again, body mind connection is so powerful. And once you can understand, if you can wrap your head around that,
Hmm.
like, theme, right? That idea, and start working on improving those neural connections,
Mm,
improving the way that you talk to yourself, your life will change
yeah.
1,000%. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it is remarkable how much your life can change if you
Yeah.
just talk to yourself a little bit nicer.
Oh,
It's very true.
well, we come into this world and we're immediately,
Yeah.
told, like,
No.
no,
Mhm.
right?
No,
No,
stop that.
no. And then you're in, like, preschool, and it's like, oh, I have to go to the bathroom. No,
No.
you have to wear a diaper. No, no.
No. It's a lot of unlearning, and I feel like you've done a lot of that. You've done a
Yeah,
lot of learning and unlearning through
yeah,
your career.
yeah. I think that's a great way to look at somebody's life.
Yeah.
Is, what have they unlearned?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for just
Mm,
coming to the show, for bringing your expertise, for letting us talk about stress. I mean, we're all feeling it. And I just think that it's important that we're open about it and that we're open that it doesn't always have to be this way, right? We don't have to live in a state of stress
mhm.
constantly. We can get out of that. And you're a living example.
Thank you. Yes. Yes, we can all have better lives.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. For anybody out there who's listening and wants to learn more, go to lanekennedy.com and definitely tune in to us. We are live with new shows on Wednesdays and check them all out at katierosewechter.com. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.